Protecting their home court, the Owls take another game down to the wire at the Liacouras Center for an instant classic against the conference foe.
Plus, the fencing team has its annual invitational while celebrating Senior Day. OwlSports Update is live, and it starts right now.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to a brand new edition of OwlSports Update. Alongside Brooklyn Vaughn, I am Dom Gillespie. Coming up, the Lax team finishes its 6-game homestand, and the South isn't very kind to the women's basketball team.
But we'll start off with the men's basketball team. Yeah, the Owls are sitting at about 500, but they do lead the nation in one category.
Temple went on the road to take on East Carolina in Greenville, North Carolina. The Owls got the better of the Pirates in the first meeting this season, but not this time. It was a close one until the end. However, the Pirates were able to pull this one out 67-63. Jaden Gardner had himself a night, scoring a game high of 29. The Owls shot less than 40% from the field and 50% from the charity stripe. That includes just 6 of 17 in the second half. That is where they lost this game. The better of the two games last week came versus UConn. This one was played a few nights before that loss to ECU, and it was a marathon. 40 minutes wasn't enough. Even 45 minutes was not enough. To the Liacouras Center, the last time these teams met surely did not favor the Owls when they lost to the Huskies by 15 in January. Starting off here, UConn wasted no time with this dish and drain from Sydney Wilson to get the Huskies going early. Down the other end of the floor, Nate Pierre-Louis catches the lob from J.P. Mormon for 2 of his 23 on the night. Here's NPL again, doing it on both ends of the floor. He'll take this one by himself for the jam, and the Owls would go into the half up 3. Later on in the game, James Book Knight gets an open look in the corner, and he'll knock that one down with ease. UConn shot 29% from 3 on the night, but still managed to keep this one close. The winner could not be found in regulation, so the Owls take yet another game to OT at home. Jake Forrester cleans up the glass, hits the tough 2, but more importantly, here is Monty Scott with ice in his veins to send this one to a second overtime, where the Owls would ultimately win this one. J.P. Mormon with an easy layup, putting this one on ice. The Owls will take home their second overtime win of February with a final score of 93-89 as they try to salvage the rest of the season.
The Owls have been very average after 40 minutes, but when it comes to overtime, Temple is one of the best in the country. After this double OT thriller, Temple has now won its last 7 overtime games and its last 3 games in double overtime. Since 2014, the Owls lead the nation with 12 overtime victories. Temple will close out February on the road, traveling to Wichita State. Then it's back home over spring break with games against USF and Tulsa. In any game that goes into double overtime, the bench can be the difference. Such was the case versus UConn. Temple ended the game with 36 bench points compared to UConn's 18. One big reason for the bump off the bench is thanks to Monty Scott. OwlSports Update's Deja Moore-Evans has more.
Monty Scott isn't in the starting 5, but since the start of February, you can argue he just might be Temple's most valuable player. The UConn Marathon is a perfect example.
I think it was just me being more aggressive than I usually am. It's an important game. We're both like 6 and 7 in the conference, so I knew it was an important game, so I knew I had to step up. So I think it's just my mindset going into it.
Monty's got 25 points coming off the bench, helping the Owls achieve 36 bench points in this game against UConn. This double overtime is helping the Owls continue their AAC winning streak.
Over the last 5 games, Scott has averaged 32 minutes per game, about 12 minutes more than his season average.
And he played 40 minutes, and I want to play him, get him on the floor, have him on the floor as much as I can. I mean, he provides the offense for us. I mean, it's something we struggle at on the offensive end, shot making, scoring ability, and it's something that he provides for us. So I certainly would love to be able to have him on the court, as long as I can.
It's all on me. I just got to build my habits for the coach to trust me and consistently play this well.
It's a new environment for him, but he's getting adjusted, playing with these guys. He didn't get the opportunity to play with them last year, so and they're looking for him, and that's the good thing.
Compared to a 7-point season average, over the last 5 games, Scott is averaging 16 points. And it could all just be the start, as Scott has 2 more years of eligibility on North Broad. Reporting live from the Leah Corps Center, I'm Deja Moore Evans, OwlSports Update.
All that production off the bench, and the Owls' win over UConn was negated by their most recent loss to ECU. Temple is now sandwiched at 8th between UConn and UCF at 6-8 in conference and 14-13 overall. They have 4 games left in the regular season, so the Owls still have some wiggle room with their conference ranking. A Thursday night win against Wichita State, who is now ranked 5th in the conference, will help the Owls head into the AAC championship with a higher ranking. And now let's go ahead and talk about the remainder of this season and how it may impact the Owls in the AAC tournament, which is just over 2 weeks away at this point. Next up, again, the Owls will head to Kansas to take on Wichita State. Temple fans were thrilled as Quentin Rose and his team led to an upset win over Wichita State, just then number 16, just a few weeks back on January 15th. No doubt that the Shockers are going to come to this one with a vengeance. And then Temple is back at home on March 1st to take on the Bulls, the only AAC team that they haven't already met this season. Keep in mind, USF has a record of 4-10 in conference play.
And as we look ahead to the final 2 games of the season, they will take on Tulsa on March 4th and Cincinnati on March 7th. Both of these teams handed the Owls losses earlier in this season, and that game against Tulsa might have been the worst one, where the Owls fell by 26 points.
Yeah, and it looks like the Owls will finish somewhere between the 7th and the 9th seed, but at this point, most likely between the 8th or the 9th spot. As the 7th seed, the Owls would play Game 3 of the AAC Championship against the number 10 seed on Thursday, March 12th. But if the Owls finish at either 8 or 9, they will play the first game on day 1.
Yeah, Brooklyn, you already mentioned it. There is a little bit of space for wiggle room, but most likely the Owls will find themselves at 8th or 9th, which would match them up with Central Florida, who the Owls got the best of earlier in the season when they went down to Florida and beat them 62-58. The men's team isn't the only group working at moving up in the standings.
Yeah, coming up after the break, the women's team was looking at a possible 3 seed, but a losing streak has them falling fast. We'll update.
I'm Jenna Mealy at McGonigal Hall, also talking about women's basketball and junior captain Mia Davis, a finalist for the Cheryl Miller Award. OwlSports Update, we'll be right back.
Last Saturday, the Owls traveled down to North Carolina coming off a 2-game home winning streak, but were defeated by the ECU Pirates 56-50. While Ashley Jones led in scoring for the Owls with 14 points, ECU freshman Tanaya Thompson scored a game-high 23 points for the Pirates. On Wednesday night, the Owls were in Orlando taking on the Knights. Temple outscored UCF in the first, second, and fourth quarters, but they were still unable to come out on top. Mia Davis led the Owls on offense with 23 points. UCF wins it 67-64.
Now let's take a look around the rest of the AAC. No one is touching the UConn Huskies at the top of the conference, and after that loss to UCF, Temple currently sits at 5th in the AAC with a record of 7-7. March Madness is a long shot for this team as well, but it's the same story. Only way in is the auto bid from winning the AAC tournament. NIT is still the best bet for the Owls. This women's team has no shortage of star power. One that stands out in particular is forward Mia Davis. She has been nothing short of stellar in her time at Temple, and she's starting to get some recognition for her play. We now bring in OwlSports Update's Jenna Mealy, who is at Pearson McGonigal Hall with more. Hey, Jenna.
Thanks, Dom. Hockey has the Hobie Baker Award, football has the Heisman, female college hoops players have the Cheryl Miller Award, and a Temple basketball player is on that final list.
The sign on the wall inside the women's basketball practice gym says, "No excuses, play like a champion." This is the mentality junior captain Mia Davis maintains, which is why she's being singled out as a finalist for a major award. Davis is one of 10 finalists up for the Cheryl Miller Award, given to the nation's top forward player in college basketball.
When I first got selected for this award, it was just an amazing feeling knowing that my hard work paid off and I'm finally getting noticed.
Miller played for USC in the 1980s, scoring 3,018 career points, also leading the U.S. to gold in the 1984 Summer Olympics. And now, Mia's doing what she can to be mentioned in the same breath.
A superstar. Mia is a monster in the paint, around the perimeter, just altogether, she is a monster.
Mia plays a lot like Cheryl, just a hard, gritty, tough player.
Her grit is reinforced by her stats on the court. Davis leads her team in most major statistical categories, averaging a double-double with 18.5 points and 10.5 rebounds.
My teammates and coaches definitely put me in a great position.
Coach Cardoza played around the same time as Miller, so she's seen Miller firsthand and coached Mia and sees the comparison.
She puts in the work in the off season, during season, and I think it's a great accomplishment just to have your name in consideration when you think about Cheryl Miller, all the great things that she was able to do.
In March, 5 finalists will be presented to Miss Miller and the Hall of Fame Selection Committee. The winner of the 2020 Cheryl Miller Award will be presented at the College Basketball Awards in April in Los Angeles, California. Reporting from McGonigal Hall, I'm Jenna Mealy. Brooklyn, back to you in the studio.
Thanks, Jenna. The lacrosse team is preparing for its first away game of the season against Columbia this weekend. And in the meantime, they've been busy over at Howard Field. Let's take a look back on their matchup with Coastal Carolina. Bridget Whitaker starts this game off on the right foot as she takes the face-off here, and her second hat trick of the season ensues. Here's Megan Hoffman. She helps the Owls get up early and finds the back of the net. Temple leads 3-0 in the first 10 minutes alone. The Chants get some help, though, from Lauren Kremen to find their way on the board, and senior Samantha Cordamanchi pulls the Chants within 1. That's the best they'll do, though, as the Owls can keep their lead throughout the entire game. Temple's offense is back in action with a goal from Abby Overman. The Owls kicked off the second half again, scoring 3 times in the first 10 minutes. The Owls come out on top. Final score of this one, 12-7 to end their 3-game losing streak. The LaSalle Explorers made the trip down Broad on Tuesday afternoon, even in the rain. Don't blink. There goes Abigail Ryan on the penalty shot. The Explorers counter just as quick. And there's Emily Johnson with the assist from Allison Hunter. That'll tie the game up 6-6. Temple will run away with it, though. That's Gabrielle Kirsch with the unassisted goal to make it 13-6. The Owls need to seal the deal, and they do it right here. Megan Hoffman shoots and scores. That's one of her 4 goals on the day. The Owls' offense was on fire, to say the least. Final score from Howard Field, 16-9 Temple.
Our communication was awesome today. I think that was honestly the main reason why we did so well was our communication.
For example, when Belle went on her run, another person was able to go on their run. It gets everyone motivated, we can actually do this and we can score on this team.
We were kind of struggling in the beginning, trying to figure out what we were trying to do and what LaSalle was kind of trying to pick apart our zone.
In the rain, we were actually able to adjust in the second half, which we clearly saw with our passes. We were actually running to the defenders to get the ball instead of just doing these long, 20-yard distance passes.
Well, it's time to take another timeout, but when we come back, fencing faces 3 nationally ranked teams on Senior Day.
And to the Combine we go, where 4 Owls have job interviews. That includes running the 40, doing the bench press, among other sweaty things. You won't want to miss it. We'll be back at 90. Welcome back to OwlSports Update. This past Sunday, head coach Nikki Frank and her fencing team had its senior day at the annual Temple Invitational. The Owls came in ranked 5th in the nation, and despite Penn State landing these 2 hits, the Owls did not disappoint. Overall, they went 4-1 on the day, defeating number 6 Penn State, number 8 Penn, Johns Hopkins, and St. John's. Their only loss of the day came against the top team in the nation, the Princeton Tigers. You can see the excitement after almost every matchup. At the end of the day, the Owls celebrated their 5 seniors as their regular season came to a close. The Owls will now look ahead to the postseason, which begins on February 29th. The fencing team these past couple seasons has been the best and most consistent sport on campus. This year, they have been better than ever.
That's right. OwlSports Updates. Nate Stanley joins us live at the studio set to tell us more. Hey, Nate.
Hey, Brooklyn. There was a lot going on at McGonigal Hall on Sunday. Temple fencing not only had its final home meet of the season, but it was also Senior Day. And in town, 3 ranked schools, top 10 in the nation, all facing the 5th-ranked Owls.
Temple fencing welcomes some strong competition at the 2020 Temple Invitational. It's the last home meet of the year.
Being at home definitely feels great. We get to do our Who's House cheers. It gives us an extra intensity being at home, defending our own home.
It's really nice to have a meet at home where their friends and their family can come and support them.
Headlining this meet, the top-ranked Princeton Tigers, along with number 6 Penn State and number 8 UPenn, all up against the 5th-ranked Owls.
Granted, the Owls were facing some of the top teams in the country. The number one thing they focused on was keeping their heads in the game.
Actually, we try not to look at the scores. I know it's in front of our face in the big jumbotron, but every bout matters. Even if we're winning or losing, you still need to fight for every touch, so we try not to focus on the score as much because that's just going to be a distraction.
The Owls did win 4 of their 5 matches, with wins against ranked Penn and Penn State. So far this year, the Owls have tallied 7 wins against top 10 teams at their various meets.
If you want to be the best, you have to compete against the best. That way you see where your shortcomings are, where your strengths are, and most importantly, you gain confidence. You know, the girls know now that they can compete with anyone, and that confidence goes a long way. Just that on any given day, anybody's beatable. You know, it's a cliche, but it's very, very true. And so you have to go out there and you give it your best.
The Owls ended the meet 4-1, their only loss coming at the hands of Princeton, making their final season record of 31 wins and only 9 losses. Looking ahead, the Owls will head to the NIWFA Championships, where they have the chance to continue a 24-year championship streak. Reporting from Studio Set, I'm Nate Stanley. Brooklyn, back to you.
Great stuff. Thank you, Nate. Out goes the saber and in comes the racket. Both the men's and women's tennis teams were in action this week. The men's tennis team took on Wagner College on Saturday at the Legacy Tennis Center. They won their 4th straight match, defeating the Seahawks with all 3 doubles flights. They ended with a 6-1 victory, improving to 4-2 overall. And just across the building, the women's tennis team took on LIU. Things didn't go as well as it did for the men's team, though. The Sharks snapped the Owls' 3-match win streak. Temple won the doubles points after taking the top 2 flights, but LIU swept the first 4 singles to win the match 4-1. The Owls are 5-4 on the year.
Busy weekend at the Legacy Tennis Center for the Owls, but it's time for our last break of the day.
And when we come back, we're talking men's crew and, of course, a little bit of football at the Combine.
Plus, the XFL is opening a big door for several former Owls. Pro football in the spring. We'll be back at 90. Welcome back to OwlSports Update. If you haven't heard of the XFL yet, it's worth a look. The XFL has given some players a second chance at professional football, not to mention the notary that comes with it. And it turns out some of the biggest names in this new league used to play at the Link on Saturdays, dressed in cherry and white.
In the past few years, it has become increasingly common seeing Owls play professional football, but not just in the fall, in the NFL. But now, this spring comes the XFL, and more Owls are getting their chance.
It's actually pretty interesting. I mean, to see PJ and all those guys snap, I mean, they didn't really get their due justice when the NFL came around. I mean, for them to get this opportunity in the XFL, like Cole Boozer, PJ, Adonis, everybody, it's great to see it. Like, I know PJ's doing his thing.
There are a total of 7 Owls currently rostered in the XFL. That's more than any other AAC team, 3 of whom are already making an impact. Cole Boozer, Adonis Jennings, and PJ Walker.
For example, our quarterback's coach and our quarterback's assistant, Adam DeMichael, has talked to me a bunch about PJ, just, showing, if you just keep working, keep your head down, and keep working. He was with the Colts for a couple years.
With invites to the Combine being limited, the XFL now serves as a great place where players can improve their game beyond the collegiate level in hopes of impressing some NFL scouts.
Adonis, I saw him, he's been playing faster. Boozer, he got bigger. So, I mean, they all picked up different attributes and different, traits from, not making it.
Personally, just seeing PJ, he was a quarterback here my freshman year. I think just seeing the way he's evolved with, just his mechanics, his throwing motion, his footwork, as well as, he was a great leader here.
Regardless of the XFL staying power, there are now 2 professional opportunities for Temple Owls once they leave 10th and Diamond.
PJ Walker has been the star of the league thus far. He has 10 touchdowns this season. That is more than 6 out of the league's 7 other teams. I'm sure he's having fun in the XFL, but at the end of the day, the goal is to make it back to the big stage on Sundays.
And now to the NFL Combine. The tryouts for those who want to play on Sundays is underway in Annapolis. Let's take a look at the guys representing Temple and what the analysts have to say about them. 4 Owls are in attendance. You got Matt Hennessy coming in with a ranking of 6.18, the 307-pound prospect, while his hand placement, leverage, and athletic ability make up for his lack of mass and length. He's predicted to fit into an organization as an early backup and an eventual starter. And then there's Harrison Hand coming in at 5.67. He possesses good NFL size and strength as an outside corner, but he struggles with finding recovery speed when he has to close the distance. Chappelle Russell, 5.49. There's a silver lining in the fact that his ACL tears in consecutive seasons can attest to his football character, but the durability of Russell will certainly be a concern to scouts. And then Sean Bradley, 5.48. His versatility with special teams experience gives him an upper hand, but his small frame as an inside linebacker could hold him back.
Now, you will not see any of the Owls in action on Thursday. Friday is when you can catch the big fella Matt Hennessy at the Combine. He was a second-team All-American, so I'm sure there will be a lot of eyes on him. Saturday is when you can catch Chappelle Russell and Sean Bradley, both of whom hoping to make big names for themselves and find their way onto a draft board. You can catch Harrison Hand on Sunday with a defensive backs workout. He sat out Temple's bowl game this year to prepare for the NFL, so I hope he is ready for the challenge.
Finally, today we're slowing it down and waking up pretty early. Temple crew is gearing up for another season on the Schuylkill River, but what exactly does it take to row for the Owls? OwlSports Update's video journalist Jake Jesberger hopped into a boat along the Schuylkill River to take a closer look as the men's crew team gets ready for its spring season, just as the sun starts to rise.
Yeah, boys, keep that energy up. Ball going 3, 1, 2, 3.
My favorite part has to be being on the water in the morning. And when you get down and you see the city and the sunrise, it makes everything worth it. Just hanging out with the boys, putting in the work, sweating together, working together, having fun together. We have the heart to win it. If it comes down to another team and our team, we are more hardworking. We're gonna put the effort in. We're gonna last all the way to the last 250 meters. We're gonna be the ones that are gonna have that conversation with pain, just like our coach says, and pull it out and win. Hardest part about the off season has to be staying focused. Everything that we do throughout the year is for Dad Bales. It's a 2K race. It's at our home. It's on the Schuylkill. That's why we're rowing. That's why we're putting in so much work now. It's everything.
Jake Jesberger putting that piece together for us. In 2 weeks, the Owls take on Rutgers in a friendly race before their season officially starts on March 21st. Temple won't have to go far as they'll be rowing in Camden at the Murphy Cup Regatta.
We covered a lot this show. Men's hoops, women's hoops, fencing, tennis, football, just to name a few. But I'm sad to say that'll about do it for this edition of OwlSports Update.
And don't forget to keep up with us on all of our social media platforms for new editions of Owl Access Pass and Courts in Session. And OwlSports Update will be right back in 2 weeks with Adam Pernally and JJ Myhowski holding the desk down. Have a great day, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Have a safe spring break.